I was that annoying kid in the class who came top in everything. There was always that pressure to come out top, and that was very stressful. At the same time, I was always aware that I didn't seem to be the same as everybody else, and I had sort of real like OCD habits. I had a very uneasy relationship around food. Having said that, I did manage to get into Cambridge University, and everybody was so outgoing and sociable, and I was anything but. But in the second term, I joined the Astronomical Society, and suddenly I found it didn't seem to matter that you were odd. Everybody was odd, and we got on really well. I felt as though I belonged to something for the first time in my life. It also made me determined to do astrophysics as a career. And then I studied astrophysics, PhD at Durham University. And very quickly after that, I got a job with the cosmology group, studying the large-scale structure of the universe, which was great in that every year I got sent to Australia to do observing. Seeing different parts of the world was fantastic. But when you got back to the office and you had all your data to analyse, you were just sat day after day behind a computer, inside, and all this hierarchy and climbing the academic ladder. I just thought, no, there's more to life than this. My dad also died quite suddenly of mesothelioma. When he went, I got clinical depression, and at the same time, Mum was just trying to pick her life up again. And she said to me one day, "Do you want to help sort my garden out?" And I said, "Yeah, okay." So we just got outside, started bit by bit, making walls, laying patios, replanting areas. And it was then I found a sense of peace, and there wasn't the anxiety anymore. And I just thought, this is good. I just want to stay outside doing this sort of stuff. And when it came to going back to work, I just couldn't do it. And then by chance, I managed to get a little gardening job, just going around old ladies' gardens, just tidying them up once a week, mowing the lawn and that sort of thing. And the more I started doing it, the more I learnt about it. I just set up a landscaping business, doing design and build. And it was just great. You made a plan and you worked towards it, and you were always learning. I did that for about 13 years, but then I had one or two really unpleasant experiences, like I had to take somebody to court. And again, all my stress triggers kicked off. Before I knew it, I was as thin as a rake. My brother, who had been a nurse, realised I was really seriously ill and said, for heaven's sake, go and get some help. So I went to the doctors thinking, oh, they might give me some build-up drinks. And before I knew it, the social workers were around, the psychiatrist, the doctor said, you've got to go into hospital for refeeding. If you don't, we're going to section you. So I had no choice. They put a tube down my nose and force-fed me, which was harrowing. This went on for 3.5 months before I was discharged. I was put into the eating disorder service and I was closely monitored. I was also trying to look after my mother. She developed cancer, so I was a full-time carer. She got over that, and then she got dementia. Mum had to go into a home. And then after 8 years, the psychiatrist said, there's something not quite right. Haven't got a typical eating disorder. I went through a lot of tests, and I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. And they realised that all my uneasiness around about foods stemmed from the Asperger's, which was a huge relief to me because I'd gone through life thinking you're a bit odd, suddenly having a reason for why you were bonkers. But it was 50 years I'd had to wait before I found that out. All that time struggling, trying to be normal. Thought, right, I can start again, I can rebuild my life. About a year later, I was just walking home from the shops one evening. It was getting dark. Crossed the side entrance on a busy main road, and a white van swung into the entrance, didn't see me and hit me, dragged me along the road. I remember seeing bright lights and staring up, and I thought, I think I've died, but this isn't really what I was expecting. Then I saw a drip stand and bottles of blood and thought, oh, maybe I'm not dead then. The next thing I remember was a man standing at the end of a bed saying, we thought we could save your leg, but we can't, you're going to have to amputate it. please will you just sign this form? Obviously I'd lost my right leg. My left leg was really damaged. They put a titanium rod down the femur. My hip was bolted together. My right arm was badly damaged. All the fingers in my hand were crushed. I broke my clavicle, sternum. It was easy to say what wasn't broken, basically. But I just thought, I'm not giving up. I want to see the flowers in spring again. I want to grow my tomatoes again next year. I'm just not giving up. I didn't want to miss out on life. So I was just so determined to get through it. Before I was discharged, they came to me and said, you're not really a good candidate for a prosthetic leg. Your stump's too short. You're very frail. You'll probably fall over and break something. We'll give you a couple of wheelchairs and a bath chair. And that was it. When I got home, I was on my own. I just had to learn to do everything myself again. And that was exhausting. Getting out of bed, washing yourself, brushing your teeth, making your food. I couldn't get out of my house. I had steps front and back. But again, because I've always been a problem solver, I just got on and did it. The solicitor was organising a really good rehabilitation package. While I was there, I was introduced to a prosthetist who thought, it's going to be tricky, we've never done anything like this, but we think you deserve a chance to try a prosthetic leg. So they made a prototype one just to see if it was feasible. And I remember the first time I used it, just walking in between the bars, it was amazing. Because it showed promise, they decided to make a custom-made leg for me, which took about a couple of years to get anything like functional. But that's what I use today. It doesn't always stay on. It's uncomfortable, it gets hot, it hurts at times, but it gets me from A to B. It's given my freedom back. And each new goal you achieve just makes you want to push yourself a bit more, because it kind of brings things in perspective. Life's not to be taken for granted. It could finish at any time. So if you've got things you want to do, you better get on with them. It's not great what's happened, but it has had its spin-offs. As part of the rehab, they got me a dietitian. She worked with me, and she also sent me for lots of tests. And I was diagnosed with gastroparesis, which would explain why I've always struggled to digest things. So again, it was some sort of vindication that all this year I'm not being totally bonkers, but there was a reason for it. My case settled after 4.5 years, and I was looking for new challenges, new goals, and that's what keeps me going, really. And the garden and being outside. I would hate to think that I gave up and lost the ambition to achieve new goals. I think when people look at me, they just see a poor old lady who's lost a leg. And when people say, oh, you can't do that, I just think to myself, well, who can't?